Welcome back to The Right Side. Our guest is Rick Lowe. You know, I tell you the thing is that what you said something that's very interesting, class warfare. And whether it's in the Bahamian society or in the United States, people don't realize just how much more in common and what greater allies both political parties are than what they actually see. In fact, they don't really work in the long run on the critical matters for the interests of their constituency. They work to preserve their own legitimacy. Because think about this. Think about this, America. How is it, I think this is so obscene, how is it that Congress can write laws for our country, civil rights laws, equal opportunity laws, laws that deal with sexual harassment, and yet those laws don't apply to members of Congress?
Absolutely.
I mean, think about that. Did you know that? The laws that you and I have to abide by does not apply to members of Congress. What kind of sense does that make?
Absolutely none. And that you're having that in the current healthcare debate in the U.S.
And the laws that they're passing won't apply to them.
Absolutely.
That's where I'm going. Tell me, what sense does that make?
It doesn't, because they're supposed to be one of us.
Is that hypocrisy or what?
Complete and utter.
Complete hypocrisy. I mean, if you're going to debate something, if you believe in something, you should have skin in the game. You should have something at stake.
Just like entrepreneurs
Just
do.
like entrepreneurship.
Yep.
And that is why this healthcare debate is not principled.
No, I agree with you. There's always a simple solution to a lot of these things. If you're really concerned about the poor, and you need tax dollars or taxpayer money to help the poor and let them buy health care, if you know what those numbers are, as they claim they do, give them a voucher. You go and buy your own insurance using that voucher. Yeah, it may be additional taxation, but there's no need for government to run the system. Every one of us, when we sit down, particularly here in the Bahamas, if you go through, the last count I made, there's something like 179 government agencies and departments and the like. And we all say, name 10 that function the way we as the citizens that have to utilize those services think they should operate. And they all get a bad grade. You know, some people may think of one, the Ministry of Tourism does a good job, but when you get to health, education, the roads, down the line, they don't perform their job.
Well, why don't you talk about, healthcare was not something I was going to really discuss with you today, but talk about, I think the system in the world that comes closest to working is not the Canadian system, but the system in Switzerland. And why?
Well,
and why that system really can't work in the United States?
Well, there are more monogamous societies. They are prepared to pay more taxes than we are. We have a different philosophy that government should be limited, and we need to take more personal responsibility. But we don't. We're starting to buy into the socialist jargon that somebody else is going to take care of us. And regretfully, we can't all be taken care of. And that it goes right back to our earlier discussion. If you have a class warfare and you keep these people competing against each other or believing that they're mortal enemies, you're never going to succeed in getting the electorate to where you need to go.
You know, you touched on class warfare. You know, I'm actually wondering, in terms of class warfare, what is it that our president will accomplish, no matter how noble his ideas are, if you destroy the entrepreneur, if you destroy that which produces the wealth, produces the job? And it's sort of like what Pol Pot did in Cambodia. Pol Pot decided that in order to bring about equality, or whatever nonsense he was thinking, he not just annihilated, he had them killed.
Yep.
He had them killed,
That's right.
The wealth class and the intellectual class. And he assumed that if everybody started from the same place, then that society would become equal. But what he did not realize is that those people had no skills, they had no intellectual capital to build with, and they had no wealth to support what they were trying to
Absolutely.
do. And the fact that he could not think about something so simple is just, to me, is insanity.
But we all know that economic freedom brings wealth. But yet, for some reason, we all ask the government to do more. And throughout history, we see it time and again when governments take that initiative away from us as citizens, the country is doomed. Look at Cuba. You know, I visited there once. Beautiful place, lovely architecture, could use a coat of paint or two, but the people with initiative leave.
Because it's not encouraged.
Absolutely. They are the ones that are in America, or here, some now even here in the Bahamas. In Mexico, you're having the same deal. The people that are productive and want to take risks and try to do better for themselves, they don't stick around. They go. And the same thing will happen to America. People will find a way out if it keeps going the way it's going. If we continue the same way here, eventually you're going to get that brain drain.
But why does leadership in governments continue to repeat the same old failed philosophies, policies, especially of Europe and the rest of the world, expecting to get different results?
Yeah, that it baffles me. I'll give you a perfect, it's the unintended consequences. They mean well.
Right.
It's not that they don't mean well. They really want to help, but they don't take history into account. But I'll give you a perfect example that I love, and I believe it was Texas at one point. You know, everybody was on this environmental kick, and you have to save water, and so they demanded that they put legislation through that a toilet had to flush using only 3 gallons of water as opposed to 5 gallons of water. So, but when you flush the toilet, it didn't flush.
Right.
So you had to flush the toilet twice using 6 gallons of water instead of 5 in the original toilet. And it was all well-intentioned. It certainly made sense that you should use less water. But at the end result, the unintended consequences of the legislation was, using more water.
Right, and that plan died quickly.
Absolutely.
Especially after the stench.
Yes.
Armstrong Williams. This is The Right Side. I'm your host. Don't go away, and we will be back as Drew cracks up. Don't go away. For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit us at www.armstrongwilliams.com. There you will find our syndicated column archive, links to our syndicated daily XM satellite show. You will also find our TV interviews with some of the most fascinating and intriguing people in the world. If you have questions or comments or recommended topics, if you or someone you know have a compelling story to share with our listeners, please don't hesitate to email us at arightside@aol.com.